Hi there. Recently, I was reading the book of Genesis, chapter 1, the story of creation, and suddenly I started to see this framework around how God did his work. I titled this video God's Work Ethic, and what I'm trying to share is what I've observed about how God worked, hoping that when we apply that to our own lives, that will be beneficial to us. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 1 that the earth was void and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And in verse 2, it says, the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the deep. And for me, that is the first thing that stands out to me. The Spirit hovering over the face of the deep to me sounds like planning, deliberation. And when I think about anything worthwhile to do, it's really important that we start with planning, adequate planning. The Bible says that which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first to count the cost, whether he has enough to build it. Otherwise, people will laugh at him and say, hey, this guy started building, but he couldn't finish. Whatever it is, a marriage, a relationship, a business, a career, a house, whatever you want to build, you should take sufficient time to plan, know what you will need, who are the people that will help you out with this, what are the obstacles you're likely to face, and how will you deal with them as much as you can envisage. It's good to plan beforehand. The second thing I noticed about how God worked is that because he had planned, he had a structure. God didn't just start creating things randomly. There was a structure, a systematic structure between the first day and the second day up till the sixth day. I've heard a preacher say before that whatever God created on the sixth day needed what had been created on the fifth day to survive or be reasonable. So you think about it. God created man last because man needed animals to be created already, and animals needed the plants to be created already. So everything God created had some sort of structure and system behind it. Applying that to our own lives, it's really important that when you're working, you have some sort of structure to what you're doing. You're not just doing things randomly. You are able to organize your work in such a way that you're being as productive as you can be, and you're saving as much time as you can save. So that's number 2. Number 3 is that God compartmentalized. So one very important productivity practice is compartmentalizing, where you take your big goal and break it down into smaller chunks and then tackle one chunk at a time. There are so many benefits of compartmentalization. When you do that, number 1, it helps you prioritize what you should be focusing on at that time. Number 2, it helps you with focus and flow. You're able to focus on one thing and really just get into the flow of getting that thing done. Number 3, it really helps with time management. You are able to save so much more time when you know what you want to do, you focus on that thing, you do it before moving on to the next thing. And another thing about compartmentalization is that it helps you be more confident in achieving whatever you're doing. If you look at the big goal, the grand thing you want to achieve, as a whole, it might be a bit overwhelming. In actual fact, if you're setting a goal, it should be big enough to kind of scare you. But then you shouldn't attempt to achieve the big goal as it is. It's important to break it down, compartmentalize, so that you say, today I'm focusing on this, I'm going to get it done, and once I'm done with this, then I move on to the next thing. So I saw that God did that. So you see, the first day says the evening and the morning was the first day. The evening and the morning was the second day. So he had broken down what he was going to do in creating the earth, and he did it step by step. The third thing I noticed is that God did not multitask. There's a lot of debate about, is multitasking good? Should we multitask? And some people say, yeah, when you multitask, you're able to get so many more things done. But I think the science says that we don't really multitask. We switch between activities really quick. And I feel that is so much more stressful. When you're switching between activities, you are likely going to get overwhelmed, stressed. The stress levels we see today is probably also because a lot of people are multitasking. So God did not multitask. He focused on what he was going to do for the first day. When he did that, then he went on to what he would do for the second day. Another thing I saw in this framework, this productivity framework for God's work, is that God had a system of self-appraisal. So you hear things like, and God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the first day. On the second day as well, when he separated the waters above from the waters beneath. After doing that, he saw that it was good, and then he said, let the dry land appear, and it was good kind of shows up quite a number of times in those 6 days. I think that's really powerful because, number one, it shows that God was evaluating his work, what he had done. He looked at it and saw that, okay, this is good. And I think of that on two levels. The first is that if it wasn't good, probably he would have improved it, done something more before saying that, okay, this is good. The second thing is that he could reassure himself that what he had done was good, such that maybe some random angel could not come and say, hey, look at what you're doing. It's not good. No, God knew that what he was doing is good. He was sure about it. He said it, he saw it, that it was good. So I think that's really important for us. When you're doing any kind of work, it's good to be that aware to know if the work you're doing is actually good. And if it is good, be able to reassure yourself that this is good work. Nobody can come and talk down on what you've done or make you feel like you've produced crappy work. I think that self-appraisal is really important. Another thing I noticed in this framework of how God created the heavens and the earth is that he rested. On the seventh day, he rested. And that's not to say that between the first and the sixth day, he didn't rest. I mean, the Bible doesn't say so, but I can assume that, well, let me not assume because this is not an assumption, but the point is God rested on the seventh day. How do we apply that to ourselves? I'm not saying that when we're doing anything, you shouldn't rest until you are completely done with your project. No. But I feel like many of us stay plugged in. Even after we've done so much, we still stay plugged in to go on to the next thing. After achieving a significant milestone or completing a project, especially one that has taken a lot from you, I feel it's very good to unplug and just take time out to rest, to relax, let your creative juices flow again, think about something entirely different from work. I think that helps us to not only give ourselves a chance to breathe and to relax, it also helps us to begin to see things in different perspectives. We can stay very locked in on what we were trying to achieve, and we're only seeing things from that point of view. But when you relax, you go to the beach, you go on a vacation, whatever, then you begin to see, oh, there's probably another way I could have done this if you need to still make adjustments to the project, or just another way to look at life in general, and such that you're not just so boxed into what you have engaged in over the past few weeks, few months, So I think these are some of the things that I've noticed about how God worked, and I thought they were really useful. One caveat I want to make is that I'm not saying that while doing a project, you shouldn't take time to rest. It's important, compartmentalizing and then taking time to rest, don't overwork yourself. The 7th day rest I'm referring to is a system where you kind of unplug, like you actually take a real break from whatever you're doing to just think about something different. So those are 2 different types of rest. I found this really useful when I was studying this chapter and just learning about this. I hope you found it useful as well. Thank you for watching.